why I'm being treated like a murderer?
They cannot resuscitate him. That's what the I mean.
Till they find the person who did it, you is the one who shot this officer. You going to prison and you ain't getting out.
Parents like to believe that their children are good people, but this isn't always the case. And sometimes the youngest criminals are the most brutal and violent.
Head and hands.
Like, for real human head and hands?
Yes.
On the 29th of February 2021, 19-year-old Brian Cohey changed the course of his and his family's lives forever. His victim was Warren Barnes, a 69-year-old local homeless man. Warren was dismembered, decapitated, and murdered brutally. Cohey attempted to hide some of the man's body parts in the trunk of his car and then drove it into the Colorado River, but he kept some as a keepsake as well.
There's an arm, there's another arm.
Okay, hold on. Do some pictures. Start right now.
There's another one.
Brian's mother was cleaning his room on the 1st of March, 2021, when she discovered a morbid sight, the maggot-infested head and hands of a man. She called the Grand Junction, Colorado Police Department, and when they arrived at the scene, his mother's heartbreaking cries made us realize how severe the situation was. Brian was immediately questioned and detained.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
This is not me in that car, you know?
I can't believe it. Oh my God.
It's kind of a time to not really know what to do, so.
Random too, why? I don't get it.
You don't have any kids. How old is Brian?
19.
He's 19.
During the interrogation, Brian's father walked the detectives through all the small details that led up to the gruesome discovery. The car was eventually pulled from the river, and the rest of poor Warren was found. This insanely gruesome case rocked the entire community, who described Barnes as a calm, gentle, and smart reader.
How come you didn't tell us about the wallet? Dad, I was just so excited with all the goings on. My car getting towed because it's wet now. It won't start. I just didn't think about it. I didn't think it was important, Dad. I'm like, Brian, who is this one, whatever guy? Dad, I swear to you, from the bottom, I only know one more, and he's my school friend. It's not him. I believe him.
The last part of the investigation involved questioning Brian, who had been contemplating the idea of taking someone's life for long before the murder took place. By his logic, choosing a prostitute or homeless person was the best choice since they wouldn't be missed.
I didn't take my medicine, and plus for years I was wondering what murder would feel like, because you read shit like Ted Bundy and the Zodiac, they all say murder is the best feeling in the world. So I'm like, I'm gonna try that.
Okay.
So for some time I had been wondering when it would happen. I always knew I would be in this building, whether it was as a criminal or a police officer.
Okay.
He was found guilty of first-degree murder, and a memorial was erected in town for Warren. He showed no signs of remorse or distress, and attempted to plead not guilty by insanity. But since this murder was clearly premeditated and calculated, this was dismissed. Brian Cohey was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This tragic case is followed up by yet another murder, this time on a young girl.
If it came down to it, would you be willing to take a polygraph sometime in the future to prove that you didn't have anything to do with it?
Sure.
The St. Martin's Police Department in Missouri received a chilling call from the parents of 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton on the 21st of October 2009. After she didn't return home, they would soon discover the young girl's body in the woods, as well as a diary linking them to the killer, 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante. Let's hear what her longtime friend had to say.
I don't think that she would actually, kill somebody up until what happened.
Did you ever hear her do anything weird? Like, I think I read that, like, she touched an electric fence and got her brothers to touch
Yeah,
it.
that was strange. I saw that video. She told me after she took the video, and she was saying that it was basically out of fun or whatever. She wanted to see her brothers get hurt.
When the pair was alone in the woods, Alyssa did the unthinkable and started stabbing Elizabeth multiple times. Shortly after, she was murdered by means of strangulation and stabbing. She was subjected to a lengthy interrogation, and when she made her official confession, Alyssa's grandmother burst into tears and left the room.
How did she die? 9-year-old girls don't just die.
We were messing around. And she fell back with her head.
Was her throat cut?
Yeah. Oh.
Grandma?
Oh my God.
During the interrogation, she admitted that she simply wanted to know what it felt like to kill and had been having homicidal ideation for a long time. However, when the reality of the situation set in, she descended into teary sobs. She first appeared in court on the 17th of November 2009 and eventually pled guilty to second-degree murder. Alyssa received a life sentence as well as a consecutive 30-year sentence. She applied for parole in July 2024 but was denied, and her earliest possible release date is in 2059 when she'll be 65 years old. As a change of pace, we now move to a case where an innocent officer lost his life.
I don't know. What happened? I don't know. Tell us what happened. I was not there.
On the 21st of February 2011, the St. Petersburg Police Department in Florida received a 911 call from a concerned resident. It was around 10:30 p.m. when the resident reported a stranger walking around in his backyard holding a brick. Officer David Crawford and another officer arrived on the scene, but things very quickly became extremely heated.
You got to tell the truth, son. We right here. I was not there. Those are your shoes, Nicholas. Those are your shoes. Stop.
If you didn't do it, you was with somebody that did it, son.
I did not do it. That I was not there. Yes, she was. Yes, she was.
Less than 24 hours later, the 16-year-old suspect was arrested after a manhunt was launched, and this was the conversation with his parents at the jail. During the struggle that broke out, Officer Crawford was shot and unfortunately wasn't wearing his bulletproof vest. He was promptly transported to the Bayfront Medical Center but succumbed to his injuries.
If you did not pull that trigger, you need to tell us and let the officer
but we know you were there. We know you were there.
We know you was there.
And they know you were there.
And they know you was there.
They haven't left our house.
Until they find the person who did it, you is the one is in hell gonna be the one that shot this officer. You going to prison and you ain't getting out if the jury don't survive to try to give you life.
Or
try to kill you.
The parents of the suspect did their best to comfort him, but the detective was not as placid. For a bit of background, Officer Crawford was a loving member of the community and served as a police officer for 25 years. He was kind and compassionate and widely known as a dedicated family man, with his wife and daughter being the center of his life. With any free time he had, he volunteered his time at CASA, a domestic violence organization.
There is a little bit of an issue, okay? And you already know what the issue is, okay?
And you're having a hard time with it.
You're obviously having a hard time with it.
Because I want to be able to be home.
I understand that, but I think it's a bigger issue than that.
That is.
You don't want to say it. You don't want to say it for your mom and dad. You don't want to disappoint them.
We're not disappointed. No.
Okay.
That's the true statement.
Listen.
This is important what he's about to say.
There's a witness that saw this happen.
The suspect was charged with first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Children committing horrific crimes seems to be unfortunately common, and the case we're dealing with now is another example of this.
So his dad takes the 3 guns that were used to shoot the boys?
Well, the 2.
In December of 2018, the Albuquerque, New Mexico community was reeling after the disappearance of 2 teenage boys. 14-year-old Ahmed Latif and 15-year-old Colin Romero mysteriously disappeared, only to be tragically found 2 weeks later buried in remote Sandoval County. 3 suspects, 23-year-old Stephen Goldman, 26-year-old Jimmy Atkins, and 18-year-old Julio Almontero were quickly arrested and taken into custody. We now see parts of the interrogation of Julio.
Did you, or did they make you shoot him at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you didn't pull a trigger?
No.
Okay.
No, I did not.
I have to ask.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I gotta ask.
Okay.
The confession of Julio helped piece things together, and evidence showed that the boys had been tortured, cut, and bruised before their murder. Latif was shot 19 times, while Romero was shot at least 9 times. The court also obtained video footage that was filmed in a moving car by Atkins, showing the young boys being brutally beaten up by Julio in the back seat.
You help who pick up the boys?
I help Calypso carry one. Flex just picks up one.
Hey, okay.
Flex just picks up one by himself.
One by himself?
Yeah.
Oh, he's pretty good size. So, do you know which one that you helped put in?
Ahmed.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, to your best knowledge, were they dead at that point? Or were they alive?
They were making noises, but I couldn't, I I couldn't really say, but I'm pretty sure I feel like he was, but not for not that long.
The jurors charged the 3 men with 2 counts of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and armed robbery. They each received 2 consecutive life sentences in prison. It came to light that Julio's uncle had helped them bury the bodies, and consequently, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Moving on, we have a seriously disturbing case dealing with a feared internet myth.
Okay, so Slender's the big guy.
Yeah.
The top guy. And the proxies are his puppets.
On the fateful day on the 31st of May 2014, one of the most disturbing attempted murders Waukesha, Wisconsin ever saw took place. 12-year-old Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser lured their supposed friend into the woods, and there they set their plan to meet and appease the internet character Slender Man. The friend, known as Bella, was stabbed 19 times, and initially we see a snippet from Morgan's chilling conversation with the detective.
Why would you hurt your only friend?
It was necessary.
Where have you been necessary?
I don't know.
Somebody told you that?
Mm-hmm.
Does Anissa have any other friends?
And I hate her other friends.
And where are other friends?
It's nice. There's this girl named Frankie, and she seems to hate me. And there's this girl, and I don't know her name.
So Frankie's the one that doesn't like you?
Frankie doesn't like me. She said I was creepy.
Anissa and Morgan had gotten deeply involved in the Slender Man myth, so much so that it started controlling their lives. Was their third and final attempt at luring Peyton Leutner, known as Bella, away, and it was the one that finally worked. Anissa decided to warn the detectives about Morgan's condition, but it was clear that there was something deeply wrong with both of them.
Because, she says she hears voices too, but I just wanted to tell you.
So we're aware of that?
The girls attempted to claim that they acted out of fear of Slender Man killing their families, but other claims also state they did it to appease him. Hearing Anissa recall the details of their crime was extremely chilling, and the lore of Slender Man could have been a cover for their deeply psychotic thoughts.
So, Morgan said, whatever you want. So, I finally just had enough and said it now, because I was starting to get a little freaked out. And then Morgan jumped on top of Bella and started stabbing her repeatedly.
By some divine intervention, Bella survived and lived to tell the story of this incredibly brutal and cold-blooded attack. After everything was said and done, the police were able to interview the parents of the girls. Understandably, emotions ran extremely high, and it was nearly impossible for the parents to process the ghastly crime their children committed.
Morgan loved Bella. She's like, how sick are you that you would do that to your best friend because you're afraid of something happening?
You know, people have asked me if I saw any signs in my daughter and this and that. And I was like, no, I knew what she was doing in here. Because when she wasn't doing her choir practice, that door was open.
Months after the incident, Morgan Geyser was diagnosed with schizophrenia and sentenced to 40 years in a state institution. Anissa Weier pled guilty to second-degree homicide, and 10 out of the 12 jurors deemed her to be mentally ill. She was sentenced to 35 years in a state institution. Now, we have a suspect who also received a lengthy sentence for murder.
If Travis were here today, he would tell you that if it wasn't me.
There are few cases as sensational and utterly disturbing that multiple books, podcasts, and media productions get made from it. This is exactly the kind of case we're looking at now, and our suspect is the infamous Jodi Ann Arias. To set the scene, it's 2006 and Jodi and Travis Alexander just met. On the 9th of June 2008, Travis was found dead 5 days after being brutally murdered in Mesa, Arizona. He was shot in the head, stabbed 30 times, and had his throat slit. Jodi's alibi quickly fell through when her DNA was found at the scene.
You either had blood on your hand and you touched the wall, or there was blood on the wall and you touched the blood. If you want, I can show you some pictures of him. Do you want to see pictures of him?
Part of me does and part of me doesn't.
Why? Because you don't want to remember?
No,
Jodi.
There's a morbid curiosity.
Jodi.
I wanted to know how he died.
The fact that Jodi referred to morbid curiosity when asked about seeing the pictures of Travis was already a red flag. Friends of the couple described them having potent chemistry, and Jodi very quickly began exhibiting serious stalker-like behavior. Even the detective noticed the signs that something was very off with her.
There's an old saying that, you know, someone's just not acting right. Look into it. You have not acted right from day one.
Jody was interviewed again after being held in custody, and this time she changed her story to state that armed intruders broke into the home where she and Travis were. Suddenly, blaming masked intruders for his death seemed awfully convenient, but this wasn't the last time she'd change her story.
He was kneeling down in the shower. I don't remember him. If this is his shower and the sink is over here, I was like right here taking pictures. And I don't really know what happened after that exactly, except I think he was shot.
On the stand, Jody changed her story a final time to state that she shot Travis in self-defense. By now, everyone was certain that she was indeed the murderer, and the only thing that the jury was divided on was whether she deserved the death penalty.
And that you were in fear at that point, right?
Yes, very much.
And that you were able to fight him off so that you could get away, right?
I rolled.
You roll away and you begin to run down the hallway, right?
Yes.
And then you went into the closet, right?
Correct.
According to you, that's where you went and obtained the gun, right?
Yes.
This final clip shows how Jody's father reacted to the shocking news of the crime. He initially seemed to handle things rather well, but during the lengthy court case, he fell sick and passed away. This was linked to high blood pressure and depression, making this case even more of a tragedy.
We believe she did go to Mesa. We have a lot of evidence in the house that points towards her as being the person who committed the murder. The only thing I don't have is why.
She was sentenced to life in prison without parole in the Goodyear Women's Prison in Arizona. She was also ordered to pay $32,000 to Alexander's family in retribution. Now is another case involving a gun, only this time in the hands of a minor.
Dead girl on your porch, right?
Yeah.
I don't have an option either. So you know where to go, but I don't have an option.
This tragic case takes us to Cuesta, New Mexico, on the 28th of July, 2023. A group of teens were hanging out when 14-year-old Porfirio Brown started playing with his father's handgun. In the motion of things, he accidentally shot his friend, the 13-year-old Amber Archuleta. The boy then dragged young Amber outside to try and claim that it was a drive-by shooting. Seconds later, the cops showed up, and they had a bit of trouble convincing the teens to step back while they checked on Amber.
What you're doing right now isn't helping. Please just go over there with them.
All you guys doing is filling the post, I don't think do much.
Well, here's the thing, dude. The medics are on the way. All we can try to do is keep her alive while the medics are here.
The paramedics arrived, and in the meantime, the officers were interviewing the teen witness who saw what happened, and he was very clear that the drive-by shooting was not the real story. Unfortunately, the case was about to take a very heartbreaking turn.
Yeah, he made that story up whenever he shot her and took her outside.
What did he tell you about that?
He tried to make up the story that the drive-by happened right next to that dumpster in front of his on the road. Tried to say a drive-by happened right there, and that her brother went to his house freaking out about it, and they ended up dragging her over there.
Tragically, Amber succumbed to her injuries only minutes after the paramedics arrived at the scene and tried to resuscitate her. The officer had the incredibly hard job of telling Amber's parents that she had passed away, and their heart-wrenching cries were very difficult to watch.
The EMS just pronounced her deceased.
Oh my God, man.
So, she's gone. She's gone.
The officers had no choice but to place Porfirio in handcuffs, since this crime had very clearly just turned into a homicide investigation. He was read her rights after being handcuffed, and he was in for a very long ordeal.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do, and it will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one can be provided to you at no cost. You also have the right to have your parent present during questioning. Do you understand your rights? Okay.
In the squad car, Porfirio arrogantly stated that they had nothing on him, but the exact opposite was true. The fact that Brown tried to mislead the cops made it so much worse, and he was booked into a juvenile detention center on charges of second-degree murder, down from first degree, and 2 counts of assault on a police officer.
I ain't got nothing on me. I didn't do nothing.
It's okay. Just keep your mouth quiet. We have a lawyer. It's gonna be okay, but you're gonna have to drink something.
I can't. Bro, my wrists are all getting cut into.
Porfirio was released to his grandparents' home and instructed to homeschool with a GPS tractor attached to him. The jury dropped the murder charge, and he received 1 year of probation for tampering with evidence. Willem Brown, the father of the boy and the owner of the gun, however, was charged with negligence of firearms, making them accessible to a minor and resulting in death. Unfortunately, our following case had an equally sad ending involving an innocent child.
So any death, we have to treat like a crime scene?
On the 9th of July, 2024, the Marana Police Department in Arizona received a chilling 911 call that every parent hopes they never have to make. Parents Christopher and Erica Schultes made a call to the police department about their 2-year-old daughter, Parker, who had been left in a hot car in the blistering July Arizona heat and had a body temperature of 108 degrees after being found.
She's dead. Like, I need to be with her right now.
Oh my God, my no! No!
Paramedics arrived on the scene too, but their efforts to revive Parker were also unsuccessful. Erica accompanied them to the hospital while Christopher stayed at home with the police, who were in the process of getting a statement from him. The couple's other daughters stated that Christopher had gotten distracted by food and his video games.
What's been going on? Obviously, I know this isn't easy for you. Okay, it's not easy for anyone around right now. We're gonna keep you updated with everything we hear. Do you want to sit down somewhere? Where would you be most comfortable?
Sure, like...
You want me to refill this for you? Can I sit? Is that all right?
It's fine.
And what happened today?
Christopher was rather distraught, but he had no one but himself to blame. Claims stated that he had left them in the car multiple times before, and today, the poor girl suffered a tragic fate because of his negligence. He claimed to have checked on Parker and that she was in the car for 45 minutes, but the shocking truth was that the girl was in the car for over 3 hours.
That's what's going to be going on for right now, okay?
So I'm being treated like a murderer?
No.
I just lost my...
Not at all. I know that. And I know this isn't easy for you. That's why I'm trying to be straightforward and honest with you, okay? I don't want to keep any secrets. I don't want to hide anything for you. Someone's going to talk to you about what happened, though. All right? We will keep you updated with everything.
My whole family, my whole family's going to be ruined.
Christopher was arrested, and a grand jury indicted him on first-degree murder and child abuse. Her death was ultimately ruled as an accident. Unfortunately, the case we're moving on to doesn't have a happier ending.
Sorry to have to tell you, but through all our efforts, there's nothing that we can do further.
Oh my God.
It was the 29th of March 2022 when the Peoria Police Department in Illinois were called to a local residence by parents. Stephanie Jones and Brandon Walker found their son, 8-year-old Nevin Jones, cold and lifeless in his room. But when police were dispatched, they walked in on a harrowing scene. They first noticed the deplorable conditions, and when they reached Nevin's room, a horrifying note was stuck to his door. The note contained instructions to not provide the boy with water or food and to not let him out of his locked room. This is the mother's gut-wrenching reaction to the news.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to have to tell you, but through all our efforts, there's nothing that we can do further.
Oh my God.
Do you guys have time?
Just call him
The cop just told me.
What the do you mean?
They cannot resuscitate him. That's what the I mean.
Poor Nevin was extremely emaciated and weighed only 30 pounds. The police rushed him to the hospital immediately, but the boy was too far gone. Brandon had quite an extreme reaction to the news as well.
I've been telling you and the DCFS bitch that he needed to be seen.
You guys are putting all your business out in front of everybody.
That his behavior was not normal.
Stephanie testified against Brandon and received a 20-year sentence for murder. Brandon, on the other hand, received the maximum life sentence for his abuse. The following case deals with another child, only this time it was the cops who mistreated him.
All right. Well, let's go talk to him and we'll kind of go from there.
I'm so worried.
Rounding off our countdown is an incredibly sad incident that took place in the early morning hours of the 5th of September 2020. Golda Barton made a 911 call and requested the crisis intervention team to be dispatched to her home for her son. The Salt Lake City police responded to the home in Glendale to try and calm Lyndon Cameron, the 13-year-old autistic boy, down. Despite the mother informing the officers that Lyndon was not armed and was having a severe breakdown, things very quickly went very wrong.
What is it that you want from us tonight?
We need him to go to the hospital. I need him to go to the hospital. I cannot get in there on my own.
Okay.
And I cannot do this every night. I will end up like not being able to handle myself. Like
Has he expressed any?
Oh yes.
Like. What about hurting other people? Like what about tonight?
He was on the speakerphone, and my worker's sitting here, and he's threatened by males. Like, he possesses me, like, he's a narcissist. So everything of mine is not mine anymore. It's all his.
And he's 14?
13. And he's almost 14 next month. But he basically, like, possesses everything. So he's like, oh, so you're with that man worker? Oh, I'm gonna shoot his ass. Like he's just like freaking out. And I'm like, dude, I think we should call, because now would be the time, because
who else is in the house right now?
The officers had a hard time getting Lyndon detained, so much so that they had to chase him down. Then, the deafening sound of multiple gunshots was heard. Instead of taking the boy to the hospital to get the help he needs, the officers decided to react with lethal force. Lyndon's parents were heartbroken at the news, but thankful that their son lived through the incident by some miracle. He sustained damage to both his ankles, his shoulder, his intestines, and his bladder.
Watch your corner! Get on the ground! 222 shots fired.
I don't feel good.
Let me see your hands!
An official investigation into the police officer who fired the shot, Matthew Farillas, was launched, and a GoFundMe was set up for poor Lyndon. The prosecutors found the shooting unreasonable, but did not press any charges against the officer. So, do you think there is any justification for police officers to act this recklessly?